Hello everyone, this is Angela. On today's video, I'll be making one of my favorite soaps for the summertime. This cute, inspired Ladybug soap using a Pringles can. I would like to give a shout out to Olga Soap Art for the inspiration. I will leave a link to her channel if you would like to see how she created her design. Before we start, you'll want to gather all of the equipment and materials you will need to start this tutorial. You will need a Pringles can, fragrance oil of your choice, templates, which I will show you how to create later on in the video, milkshake straws, colorant, a clear soap base, some small mixing cups, an opaque soap base of your choice, some pouring pitchers to melt your soap base into, and a pipette. I'm assuming you know the basic processes of creating melt and pour soap. If not, I will leave a few links in the description box below that will help. Also, remember good manufacturing processes. Wipe down all working surfaces and equipment. Wear eye protection, hair covering, and gloves. You'll want to start by cutting down the Pringles can. Measure down 5.5 inches from the top of the lid and cut off the bottom portion. The open side is now the top of our mold and the lid side is now the bottom. Next, you will want to create several templates we will be using in the creation of this soap. Here I cut a large paper cup into two sections, one measuring 2¼ inches by 5.5 inches and the other 3 inches by 5.5 inches. Using a small piece of plain paper and the lid from the Pringles can, you will want to trace out a circle and then draw in the components of the ladybug, such as the head, tail, and dots. You definitely want to make sure you're using milkshake straws when designing this in our mold, as regular drinking straws are way too thin. Next, you will want to place the ladybug template under the lid on the outside of the can. Then melt about 1 ounce of clear soap base in a small cup and set aside. This will be the glue to hold the forms in the mold. You'll begin with the form that is 2¼ inches by 5.5 inches and shape into a semicircle. This is going to be the head of our ladybug. Place this into the mold following the ladybug template under the lid. Draw up a small amount of melted soap base into the pipette and squeeze a small amount of soap down the edges of the form. Manipulate the form until you have it where you like it. It will only take a few seconds for the soap to harden and your form will stay in place. Now you're going to want to take the form that measures 3 inches by 5.5 inches and fold it in half lengthwise. This is now going to form the tail of our ladybug. Place this into the form following the ladybug template under the lid. Draw up a small amount of melted soap base into the pipette and squeeze a small amount of soap down the edges of the form. Manipulate the form until you have it where you would like it, and again, once the soap is hardened, we are able to move on to the next step. Now you will want to place the straws where you have marked the dots on the ladybug template. Start by dipping the straw into the melted soap base and placing into the mold following the template. Make sure to hold the straw until the soap base is hardened before you release. Do this for all 6 straws. Now that the mold is ready, you will want to melt 10 ounces of clear soap base along with 2 ounces of an opaque soap base of your choice. I have chosen goat's milk for this. I want the red color of the ladybug to be somewhat bright in color without being see-through. The fragrance oil I'm using today is Floral Symphony by Candle Cocoon. It has notes of bergamot, jasmine, rose, and musk. And I'm coloring the body of the soap today, which is the wings of the ladybug, with Nurture Soap Firecracker Mica. I did add some vanilla stabilizer to my fragrance oil as it does contain vanillin, and I didn't want my soap to turn brown. Once added, I stirred until the fragrance oil was completely incorporated. I continued to stir my soap base until it had reached a temperature of 135 degrees Fahrenheit. I then poured a small amount into a paper cup. I wanted to pour a thin layer of soap base at the bottom to make sure that the straws were firmly in place. Once that layer had hardened and the rest of my soap base had reached a temp below 135 degrees, I sprayed that layer liberally with rubbing alcohol and poured the colored soap base into the area of the mold that will create the wings of the ladybug. Leave the soap to harden. You will want to make sure that it is firm enough to handle without misshaping it, but soft enough to remove the straws. You're going to need to release the tension of the straws from the soap. By doing that, I just pushed in each straw with a wooden skewer. I then took a clean pair of pliers that is only used for soaping to remove the straws. It does take a little force to remove them, but they will come out. Once all the straws are removed, you will want to remove all the forms from inside the mold. When all the forms have been removed, remember to place the lid back on the mold. I then melted 14 ounces of clear soap base and scented this again with my fragrance oil mixed with vanilla stabilizer and colored it with activated charcoal. Once my soap base reached a temperature below 135 degrees Fahrenheit, I filled the paper cup with some of the soap base. I sprayed each hole liberally with rubbing alcohol. Using a smaller cup gives you better precision when filling the dots on the wings. Once the dots are filled and semi-firm, you'll want to spray the rest of your mold liberally with rubbing alcohol and pour the rest of your soap base into the areas that are going to form the head and the tail of our ladybug. Now it is time to leave the mold to sit and firm up. Once the soap is hardened and firm enough to remove, since we did not line this Pringles can, we will actually have to tear away the Pringles can from the soap base. Once we removed our soap column from the Pringles can, I usually like to clean it up a little, and that's easily done by taking a paper towel sprayed with rubbing alcohol. Sometimes some of the soap base, one color or another, has seeped in between each other, and it's usually nice just to clean it up and wipe that off. I had forgot to turn on the camera once I had made my first pass through the soap cutter with this soap, but here's the final cut of our ladybug soap. After they were cut, I cleaned and polished each soap with rubbing alcohol and a paper towel. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and I really hope you give it a go yourself. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video or found it helpful, consider tapping the like and subscribe buttons below. Thank you for supporting my channel. Until next time, happy soaping.